The first things he saw were two sleds propped up against the wall on their hind legs. They were very old, with rusted runners, and one was red and one was blue. Names were painted on them in fancy letters. "Snow Demon," said one, and "Little Kris Kringle," said the other. They must have belonged to the Cassidy children, thought Oliver. And then he saw the bicycle. Upstairs in the attic there were pictures of boys riding bicycles like this one. The front wheel was taller than he was, though the back wheel was small, and the saddle and handlebars soared loftily atop the front wheel. "If only my legs were longer," thought Oliver impatiently, looking down at his short, fat underpinnings. "This bike is much better than the kind they have nowadays, more dangerous." Besides the bicycle and the sleds, there was an old-fashioned tin bathtub covered with rust and chipped paint of robin's egg blue, and shaped like an armchair with a high back. And there were more mason jars with more spiders in them, and a doll carriage made of decaying leather, and a broken coffee grinder, and a cast-iron crib frame, and a set of big books. All the objects in the room were covered with a layer of fine, ashy white dust. Oliver sat down on one of the books, took another on his lap, reveling in the dust, and began to look at it. It turned out to be the bound volume of a magazine called Harper's Young People, published in the year 1887. The book was mildewed. Some of its pages were glued together by years of damp, and its green cover had been gnawed by mice, but it exuded the indescribably delicious odor of all ancient books. Better still, it was full of the pictures and adventures of the children of that other world which he had already explored on the walls of the office upstairs. A world where girls wore sashes and long hair, and boys wore long stockings and buttoned boots, and the horses which pulled the trolley cars wore straw hats. In that world there were no automobiles, no airplanes, no streamlined trains, and yet the children seemed to be almost the same kind of children there were now. Overhead, Cuppy's feet creaked to and fro across the kitchen floorboards. Outside the morning was clear and golden with Indian summer, but Oliver sat in the dim light of his cellar room, pale and happy as a mushroom in its native habitat. Hours later his reluctant ear was pierced by the frantically repeated sound of his name. "Oliver! Oliver!" cried Cuffy, faint and far away. He heard her feet hurry across the kitchen floor, the screen door open. "Oliver, come in for your lunch," called Cuffy. He sat listening, and when he heard her feet go out of the kitchen, he rose, closed the door of the marvelous room behind him, and ran silently up the steps. When Cuffy returned to the kitchen, she found Oliver there, gazing dreamily out the window. "Great day in the morning," she said exasperatingly. "Where in the world have you been? And how in the world did you get so dirty?" Oliver neatly evaded this question by answering it with one of his own. "Am I dirty, Cuffy?" he asked, looking surprised. "I never saw such dirt. Dirt all over you, and something that looks like coal dust. And what have you got dangling from your ear? I believe it's a cobweb. Come here while I wash you." All through lunch, Oliver ate without knowing that he ate at all. A baked potato, 2 slices of liver, and a large helping of beets, which he detested, simply disappeared from his plate into himself without conscious material assistance on his part. Inwardly he had entered once more the little room that was his discovery, his kingdom. He dwelt longingly upon the thought of the 2 old sleds, the bicycle, the coffee grinder, which he planned to take apart, and above all, the books. "Tomorrow I'll go down again," he told himself, "and whenever it rains, and when Cuppy takes a nap. But I mustn't go too often." Oliver was wise for his 7 years. Already he knew that to overdo a thing is to destroy it. "I'll keep it secret for a long, long time," he thought. He did, too, for he had great determination and knew the secret of keeping secrets. Also, he had a kind heart. 6 weeks later, when Randy had to stay home from school with a toothache, he took her down to the cellar and showed her his discovery. It worked better than oil of cloves. Randy forgot her toothache for more than an hour and a half, absorbed in the dusty volumes of Harper's Young People. Afterward, she and Oliver referred to the secret cellar room by its initials, S.C.R. They referred to it ostentatiously and often, much to the outward boredom and inward consuming curiosity of both Mona and Rush, who were not enlightened until the 25th of December, when Oliver showed it to them for a Christmas present.